I'm Dr. Sampat Shivangi. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. I'm there for the last 49 years. I'm probably the first immigrant to go into Mississippi, an Indian American. And so I'm there. I didn't move after I moved to Mississippi. I called it home and I stayed there. So that's how I built up my political connections. And I'm big in the Republican Party. I'm the biggest donor in Mississippi. So we created governors, presidents out of this city. So it's not I'm trying to brag, but I think we created some difference in political careers.
And Mississippi also gave you a gift after you giving Mississippi so many gifts. There's a street named
Yeah.
after you?
Yes, there's a street named called Sampat Shivangi Street in Jackson, Mississippi. It was done about 8-10 years ago by the governor of state of Mississippi. That's because of my contribution to the healthcare in Mississippi. So I was pioneer in bringing mental health issues in Mississippi, and they recognized Mississippi was the 49th, 50th state in the nation. So, but now it's almost coming to 34th, 35th state in healthcare.
I see.
Yeah. So we transformed Mississippi. So
Very interesting. And
I'm the chair of Mississippi Healthcare for last 14 years.
Department of Health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, just yesterday, the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, reappointed me for another 7-year term. Just yesterday.
Oh,
He called me
amazing.
yesterday and told me that I'm reappointing you for 7 years. So I'm glad to
Well,
be there.
congratulations. But this is not your first stint with the Biden administration. You were also serving under President
Yeah.
Trump and President Bush.
George W. Bush appointed me to Health and Human Services. I was his advisor in the White House
In the
for
White
4
House.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Then President Trump appointed me to the National Mental Health Services in Washington, D.C. as part of SAMHSA. And of course, it was 2 years, and President Biden came in office, and he reappointed me for my term ends in December this year. But I'm told that they're going to extend my term.
They're going to extend it. Very interesting. And Mississippi, that is a curious state for someone to travel from India. Why did you pick
No,
Mississippi?
I didn't really come from India to Mississippi. I was in Johns Hopkins in
I
Baltimore.
see.
I did my fellowship. Then I was in Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. I did there were 8 Nobel laureates in Washington University when I was there. And I was so fascinated, I wanted to go there. So I did go and did my fellowship. Then I was a professor at UAB, that's University of Alabama in Birmingham. Then I wasn't too happy about being there, and I was looking out. And a friend of mine who was OBGYN, I'm OBGYN by training, he asked me to come and join him in Mississippi. So I went and joined him. And I didn't find anything different. Actually, when I went, you'd be surprised. Especially African Americans will stand and stare at me. Who's this guy? He doesn't look black or white. Who this guy? He's
So the
coming
middle.
from where?
Yeah.
50 years back, because
Wow.
that time there were no Mexicans. They didn't know anybody color other than white or black.
Very interesting.
And those years also, there were separate bathrooms for blacks and whites. And I didn't care. I used my privilege as white man and survived there. But they were all nice to me. The whole state was. I never felt I was discriminated.
Yeah.
I was looked down. Everybody was very appreciative of, as a physician, what I was doing. And so I think that's the life story. Then I'm on the board of medicine in Mississippi for the last 14 years. I told you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that depicts, I'm the first non-white, non-African American to be on the board. I'm the chairman also.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So you are very in tune with the situation of America's mental health.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I am authority, especially you may be interested to know the postpartum depression and suicide, which is my favorite subject because I'm by training I'm an obstetrician gynecologist. But when I see my patients, especially women. 20% of the women go into depression during their pregnancy
Yes.
and during the first 6 months postpartum after delivery. They go into deep depression. I couldn't see it. Even my own wife went into the depression. My daughter went into depression because they may not know. I'm being a physician. I wish to see that,
That's right.
and I didn't want that to happen. So I have made this as a national phenomenon: postpartum depression and suicide. Uh, in next 6 months to a year, it will be national news about what you nobody knew. I went to attend a psychiatric medical association event. They asked me to come and speak. I went to speak and I asked them, there were 150 psychiatrists and psychologists sitting there. I said, how many of you know there's a phenomenon called postpartum depression and suicide? 8 in 1,000 women die with suicide.
18,000.
Only 10,000.
1 in 10,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Postpartum
Every
depression.
year.
Yeah, every year they die. And the biggest part I'm telling you, fentanyl. And do you know 127,000 Americans died last year?
Yes.
10,000 Americans die every month.
Fentanyl.
Yes.
Just what a crisis it
Fentanyl.
is. That's right.
So I'm working on these two issues right now at national level.
Oh, fentanyl is
Yeah.
really a crisis that
Yes,
everyone is
yes,
so
yes,
worried
yes.
about. But you also bring an issue like postpartum depression and suicide to the forefront, which
Oh,
for
yes.
a lot of women
Nobody
is taboo to
America
talk
has
about.
such a huge amount of intellectual, thing, but nobody thought about why not.
Well, I think it's because there's a taboo for mothers that everything is supposed to be perfect. And I think once people like you start talking about it, then that
I
taboo, goes
I talk
away.
every occasion I have. I talk. See, you gave me a chance. I talk about
Yes,
it.
that's right. Yeah, it's so important.
I know. I think
So
actually
you're planning in the next 6 months
August
to a
30th,
year.
there will be a national meeting in Washington D.C. August 30th, and we are going to make it a national issue, just like fentanyl issue. You have heard about 988 number?
Yes.
988. See, 988 covers fentanyl also, and also is going to cover post depression and suicide. What 988 group is almost 40 states in the United States. We have a mental health departments. They have this 911. Just like 911, we have 988.
Right.
Suppose somebody has a suicidal tendency, mental depression, they call that number. And there's somebody there 24 hours, 7 days a week to answer your questions. So that reduced 35% of admission into the hospitals and clinic visits. 35%. So out of 100, 35 don't go to hospitals. But just by talking to the psychologist or nurse practitioner or a
Yeah,
healthcare
you just
worker,
need someone to listen sometimes.
listen to them, and they're quiet and stay home. So these are things I'm pushing for.
Well, more power to you. And
Thank
please
you.
do come back and talk to us. We'd love to hear more
Yeah.
about the steps that you're taking on both of these
Yeah,
issues.
it's my life.
So, okay, so we're going to talk
ambition.
soon
Yeah.
again. Doctor,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, you've done so well.
Thank you. Thank you.